So, hello, Friday. Hello, Friday. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this session. I can't believe it's February already. I mean, it's like February. I just remember like turning the page on 2020 and it's like February. Anyway, so in honor of February, we're running a February special on Neuro-Fitness Fridays. We're going to cover the same topic, and we're going to do it in 4 different cuts at it. The topic we're going to be talking about, how to avoid stinking thinking. How to avoid stinking thinking. Now, you may ask yourself, what's stinking thinking? Well, stinking thinking is like that, negative static and noise in our head. And it's not like, we talked about the drama monster and the fear we create and the imaginary drama and the stories we tell ourselves. It's not quite like that. It's just the constant noise and static and the things that it's driven by the negativity bias in our brain, those negative brain map bias that really just has this constant static and noise and negativity that candidly adds real stress. So it's something we need to pay attention to and need to watch. So during February, we're going to look at some 4 different brain smart strategies on how to avoid stinking thinking. All right. Today, what we're going to cover, the first strategy is what we're going to cover is the fact that words have incredible power. There's certain words that our brains respond to either positively or negatively based on the brain maps we have. So words have power. Words have power. And it's because our brain maps have really been created to react either positively or negatively to those certain words. So if we change our words, we're going to hopefully be able to socially distance ourselves from our own stress and the stinking thinking that wants to invade our brains. I'm going to give you a quick example of what I mean. I'm going to say 3 words that describe the exact same action. All right. Eat some fruit. Suck a lemon. Now, describe the same action, but you know what? The second one gave you a much more visceral reaction than the first one did, didn't it? Yeah, it did. Okay. Before we get into the real power of words, we also know that not only words can change our brain, but our bodies can change our brain. Now, we all know that our brains change our bodies, but what we might not know is that we can use our bodies to change our brains. And I was going to touch on this topic, but instead, I'm going to ultimately just refer you to a phenomenal TED Talk by a author and researcher, Amy Cuddy. Amy did this TED Talk about 9 years ago, and I highly recommend it. And she talks about how you can use your body to change your thinking and to get rid of stinking thinking and to become more positive. So check that out. Check out Amy's talk on TED. Just Google TED Talks, Amy Cuddy, body language, and you'll find it. Back to words have power. Here's a little tease. I'm going to share with you later on in the presentation I'm going to share with you a very magical word. But before that, let's get into some of the in-depth examples of how words can really change the way we think. Our brains have lots of negative words. And let me share a story with you. We bought 12 acres of land here in Lexington, Kentucky. And when you buy 12 acres of land that's not cleared, there's always something to do, especially when you're starting up a little horse boarding business. There's always something to do. And I was constantly going over and spending an hour or two every day mowing, running a chainsaw, clearing brush, burning down wood, cutting wood, pulling weeds, all of those things. And I referred to them in a maybe not so affectionate way as my farm chores. And that terminology became a really negative drain on my motivation. Farm chores really became kind of a contributor to my stinking thinking. So one day I said, you know what? I just got to change my mindset because you know what? Every time I go here and every time I clear some weeds or do some landscaping or run the chainsaw or fix some boards that were broken, everything every time I do some of that, even if it's for 15 minutes or 2 hours, the place looks more beautiful than when I got there. So instead of saying I have to go do farm chores, I chose to go do farm beautification. And it became a much more motivating thing for me to say, I'm going to go spend an hour beautifying the property we purchased. I'm into beautification, not into chores. It really helped me minimize the stinking thinking and motivate me and put a smile on my face to attack that opportunity to really make the place we bought even more beautiful day by day. That's just one example. But we have a lot of negative words in our life. You know, Monday is a negative word for a lot of people. Work is a negative word for a lot of people. At work, we talk about what the thing's going to cost. You know, cost is a negative word for a lot of people. Sometimes in our life, we talk about we have to make a purchase. How much is this going to cost me? Cost is a very negative word. Another negative word in our life is should. We usually should ourselves to death. I should do this. I should do this. I should do this. And that word should continually beats us up and beats ourselves up. Should is a really draining word on us. Have to. I have to do this. I have to go to the store. I have to pick up the kids. I have to take the kids to the soccer game. I have to get up early tomorrow. I have to do that. Have to are negative words. Here's another negative word. And you should try to avoid using this word under all costs because not only is it a negative word, it's a perpetrator word. It's the word why. The word why, when we ask somebody a question like, why did you do that? Or why are you going to do this? Or what, why? When we ask the question of the word why, it refers back to a lot of childhood brain maps when our parent or parental influence person really came on to us and said, why'd you hit your sister? Why did you not put your bike away? Why did you do this? And it provokes a defensive response. It puts people on the defensive. Asking the word why automatically assumes that you're judging the other person and you need them to defend themselves. Rather than asking the word why, just change the sentence structure and just ask, what made you do this? What made you say that? It's a much softer way, and you won't get a the potential negativity coming back at you if you really perpetrate them with the word why. So why is a very negative word. Try to avoid it at all costs. Some words, some words have the potential to inspire. The word imagine, they did MRI studies on the brain, and the word imagine lights up the same neural pathways as the actual sensory pathways of sight and sound and taste and all of those senses. So if you say, imagine a delicious, moist chocolate chip cookie, the word imagine will light up in your brain the memory of eating that chocolate chip cookie and the same brain waves that you will release that dopamine when you eat a chocolate chip cookie, assuming you like chocolate chip cookies, the same dopamine that gets released, if you imagine it, will give that same kind of positive hit and positive um, release. It may make you crave a chocolate chip cookie, but it will light up the same neural pathways. Imagine a forest walking through a crisp morning walk, the smell of the fresh dew on the leaves. All of those things create powerful, powerful, positive brain maps that light up the senses. Imagine is an incredibly powerful word to our brains. Remember, I said have to was a really, really negative word. I have to do this. I have to do this. What if you just change the word have to get to? I get to pick up the kids from soccer. I get to go to the store and buy milk. I get to do the laundry this afternoon. I get to make the house cleaner. I get to do these things. Change have to get to. It'll be a less of a negative drain and feel less like something that's going to bring you down in that stinking thinking swirl of static and negativity. I'm going to tell you in a minute what this magical word is, but let's first talk about some words that we use in our business lives. I talked about the word cost being a negative word in business and in personal life. But what if you looked at the word, changed the word cost to the word investment? The word cost to the word investment. Investment is we're investing in the future. We're investing in a better means of transportation. We're investing in potential growth. Change the word and change the outlook and change the potential. Here's another one that always got me, and I always counseled my clients on this. I ask them always to develop action plans. What are you going to do? And the one word that continuously popped up on action planning was the word continue. Continue to do this, continue to do that. I said, why do you want to continue to do that? Well, it worked before, so we want to continue to do it. And I would tell them the word continue is the kiss of death word, KOD, kiss of death. The word continue assumes you're fine with the status quo. You don't need to improve. And if you just continue, the world will move on, your competitors will catch up to you, and you will be left behind. Change the word, one word change in an action plan, and change the word continue to the word improve. And it sets up a mindset that says we have to improve what we did before. We need to improve what we did. And this week is Super Bowl weekend. Do you think if the Kansas City Chiefs, who are playing in the Super Bowl 2 years in a row, said to themselves, we're just going to continue to be a great team, they would have gotten there? No, I think they took the mindset that said, we have to improve the things that we need to build on. And that's what got them there. That's what keeps them great. you ready for the magical word? Are you ready for this magical word? It will completely put the power of word choice at your fingertips. I'm going to share it with you right now. It's the word but. Now, the word but in every language, in every country around the world has been conditioned to be in the brain maps of people all around the world that says, pay no attention to what I just said, because the real important stuff is coming now. So when we say, and people they often joke about it. It's like, okay, when are you going to say but? Yada, 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 but. And it always is a downer for people to hear that word but. So a lot of times people say, don't use the word but I'm going to share with you a couple examples on how you can use it to your advantage. I'm going to share one story with you first. Is like when in 2009, when the auto manufacturers were coming out of the financial crisis, Ford Motor Company was very happy, they were very proud of the fact that they didn't take a government bailout money. And their CEO at the time, his name was Mulcahy, he came out, and after 19 quarters, I believe it was 19 quarters of negative results, they finally had a positive result. And he went, as all CEOs do, for quarterly calls with the financial analysts on Wall Street. He had his financial call. He said, ladies and gentlemen, you guys, I'd like to share with you some exciting news. For the first time in 4 years, we've had a positive quarter, but we're not out of the woods yet. The next day, the headline of the Wall Street Journal said, Ford CEO predicts tough times ahead. Now, what if Mulcahy would have said, ladies and gentlemen, by no means are we out of the woods yet, but I'm really excited to announce that we've had an amazing quarter, and I want to share those results with you today. May have gotten a little different response from the reporters on the call. Here's an example of how you can apply it in a business situation. Let's say Emily is an employee at your company. And let's say Emily turned in a project and it wasn't up to standards. One scenario could come in and say, hello, Emily. You're a really valued employee, but the work you did on this project wasn't up to our standards. Now, do you hear that? Do you think Emily heard that you're a really valued employee? No, she just heard blah, 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 blah. I'm no good. What if we changed that around? What if we said, Emily, the work you did on this project wasn't up to your standards or our needs, but you're a really valued employee, and I want to work with you to make sure it doesn't happen again. I think in that scenario, Emily picks up her pen. She's all ears. She wants to know what she can do to improve. Use the word but to your advantage. And if you just want to see how that might play out in real life, you could take a loved one and say to them, I really love you, but sometimes you really drive me crazy. Or you could say to them, sometimes you really drive me crazy, but I really love you. And just see what kind of different response you'll get. Right? The word but is a magical, magical word. So the question I have for you The question I have for you is, do the words you choose, do the words you choose, do they help promote more stinking thinking, or do they help promote more pleasure and joy? Now, here's where we're going to have a little interactivity. I'd like you to go to the chat box and I'd like you to share with others on this reflection of what we just talked about today. What's one expression that you find yourself using all the time, or maybe an example that resonated with you that we talked about here? What's one expression that you use that could benefit from a word change? One expression that could benefit from a positive word change and minimize that stinking thinking. Let's put them in the chat box. Here we go again to I'm grateful I get this opportunity to. Great example from here we go again. I get this opportunity to, you know, challenge myself again, or rather than saying, oh no, not this again, you can say, we've done this before. I get it again and again. I'm not really good at till I'm still learning how to. That's a great one. That's a great one. I'm not really good at X. I'm still learning how to do X. Great way to think about that. I have a bad feeling about this too. Let's see what happens. Another great one, great word change opportunity to really lift up and inspire and not promote more stinking thinking. It's almost Friday too. It's a good Thursday today. That's great. I love that. It's rather than saying it's almost Friday. Couldn't be a better Thursday. Terrific. I failed at this before too. I get another chance to try. These are all phenomenal. Keep putting them in there. Keep putting them in there. All right. Well, so next week, we're going to talk about strategy number 2 on how to avoid and minimize stinking thinking. Strategy number 2 is going to talk about reframing to reboot and to refresh. So taking situations and reframing to reboot to refresh. So with that, I'd like to wrap this up and say, hello, Friday. Goodbye, stinking thinking. Hello, positive words. Hello, potential. I get to look forward to the weekend. Have a great weekend, everybody. God bless you.